Namaste. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome to the study of the Mandukya Upanishad. We are beginning a new Upanishad today. We just finished the Isha and Kena Upanishads. So I don't again want to go into the Upanishads because we have discussed them, their relevance, their importance, and how the Upanishad has the potential to change our mind just through understanding, just through knowledge, and the power and the might of this literature, because it is actually dwelling into, going deep into Paravidya, the nature of reality, the knowledge of Brahman. Brahman is the ultimate substratum of this world of existence. It is existence itself. And the nature of this existence is, it is pure consciousness. So according to the Upanishads, consciousness is the basic substratum of this universe. It is the actual reality about life. So there's a huge debate when it comes to what is the building block of this universe, what are the building blocks, and what is the reality about this universe. Isn't it? There's this big debate going on all over. In science, the scientist will tell you that it is matter that is the building block of the universe. You see, everything is matter, and you can break it down to subatomic particles, and that is the building block of the universe. So the universe is nothing but matter in different shapes and forms. And then when they found that, well, this explanation is not enough, then we saw that we came to the understanding that there is something called dark matter, because matter does not fill the entire volume of the universe. So then dark matter, nobody knows actually what dark matter is like, but 96% of this universe is supposed to be dark matter and dark energy. So then what is the fundamental reality of this universe? What makes up this universe? Is it matter? Is it energy? Or is it something else? This is the big debate. So according to all these systems of philosophy which we have been discussing, especially the Vedanta, Sankhya, Yoga, all these will tell you consciousness is the basic crux, the fundamental reality of the universe. It is in consciousness that you perceive anything. It is everything that appears as that thing is of consciousness. And it is name and form ultimately superimposed upon consciousness. So, is consciousness more fundamental to matter, or is matter fundamental to consciousness? And how is matter generated? How is consciousness generated? These are all the big questions of philosophy. And in our own way, in the study of these Upanishads, we will try to understand this very well. See, if you actually think very originally about this problem and see, what is more fundamental, matter or consciousness? Tell me, in what do you perceive what? Do you perceive matter in awareness or awareness in matter? Of course, you perceive matter in your awareness, isn't it? So then more fundamental should be awareness. In fact, there is a section of scientists today who tell us that it is matter that is debatable. Consciousness is a first-person reality, fact of every life. So this is also there in science. Now it is for us to grasp through our own techniques, through our own understanding, what should be more fundamental to what. Even the very fact of our perceiving matter, understanding matter, lies on the foundation of consciousness. This is something we have to see for ourselves. Every experience is in the first person, which means it is an experience only when it is a conscious experience It has something to do with consciousness. The essence of being conscious is consciousness. Pure awareness is conscious by itself. That is why it is called consciousness. So that is considered the most fundamental fact of life, the building block of this world of manifestation, as per our spiritual heritage. Now, if we have any doubts on this, we should start these trains of thought, these processes. We should become philosophical ourselves and see for ourselves what comes first and what is the most fundamental reality of life. So today the Upanishad which we are going to start, it starts with these questions, you know. It is a very, very profound Upanishad, which is actually meant for the very word mundak, indicates a shaven head, which means it is meant for those who exclusively pursue the ultimate knowledge. Why is it given this name? Because it was kept for those rishis who were very committed to a life of complete austerity and renunciation. It belongs actually to the Shaunakya Shakha of the Atharva Ved. So those rishis insisted upon a way of life, a pattern of thought which would result in this Paravidya. They were blazing with the spirit of renunciation, and that is why they perhaps kept the name Mundakopanishad. But it gives us such meaningful ideas on the nature of reality that, you see, for anybody this would be a matter of great interest, isn't it? But if you have to experience it in the first person, the fundamental requirement is the capacity to detach from what is unreal, from what you are not. If you want to know who you are, the ability to detach from what you are not should be there. In fact, it is inbuilt. When you know the reality about something, you are naturally detached from what is not true. So to be able to maintain this state, this is actually sannyas. Sannyas or the shaven head, actually what does it signify? It means deep inner detachment. Not that you have to run away from your home or your work, not all that. It means a deep spirit of inner detachment where you incline towards truth always. This is the renunciation required for the study of this Upanishad. And that is why it gives you ideas which are really life transforming. I found in the Mundakopanishad there are so many such ideas. You see, somewhat like the Kathopanishad, that they have actually divided the Upanishad into 3 chapters. Each chapter has 2 sections, and each of these sections has beautiful allegories and very profound concepts, ideas. So bit by bit we will be going into it. Since it is the study of the Upanishad, I will be following the same pattern which we have been following so far, which means we go word by word. Because if I just generalize or go straight into the commentary, we will be bringing the commentary into our discussions, but we will go word by word with regard to the Upanishad itself. So it will make a complete study. But this Upanishad is a long one. There are 64 mantras. So it will take us a few classes, many classes I would say, for us to complete this Upanishad. We will go slowly but try to completely grasp the subject matter. Because you know, in a study of Vedanta, this is all that is going to matter. To what extent your vrittis you have been able to align to this Paravidya. That much is your gain. Not that your vritti will reveal this knowledge, but at least you will have a solid ideation, mentation about the reality which they are speaking about. When you have very clear thought process, it is easy to go beyond thought. See, this is the beauty of mindfulness meditations. Recently I have been doing some research on mindfulness because it is so very important to be mindful initially in order to be able to transcend the mind ultimately. If you are not even mindful initially, you will not be able to transcend the mind. That is why Sagun Sakar Upasana was such an important part of Hinduism. Isn't it? Sri Ramakrishna also says this, you will find it in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So many times he says this, that first you learn to meditate a form of God. You learn to love God as a person because your senses are very active. They should learn to concentrate on somebody, something elevating and something that will ennoble your mind. Gradually this itself will take you to Nirakar Upasana. So unless one is very specially qualified, Nirakar Upasana can appear very abstract. And that is why always the recommendation is from that which you can actually tangibly hold in your mind. And then you move from there to the real nature of this, the personal God or whomever you are worshipping. So mindfulness also, techniques also are like that. You see, you are being made mindful of some particular object through which you enter the state of no mind. So mindfulness meditations also in a impersonal way, they are following something like this only. Usually it is compared like it is, you can say an example given to explain how mindfulness works is, suppose think of a sky, very clear sky, blue sky, but then some clouds come in, fleecy white clouds. Now those clouds are specific thoughts. The sky is awareness. If you want to touch the sky, you can first concentrate on one cloud of thought. Cloud is the thought, some one particular thought, and if you concentrate completely on that, it is to help you build your concentration, your focus steadily over for a period of time. Then you can perforate through that cloud and you will reach the sky. So in mindfulness meditations, you start with paying complete attention to some particular object. It can even be your body. It can be some particular act you are performing. It can be your breathing. It can be just the silence you are experiencing within yourself. Some particular thing, rivet your attention on that. And that itself is like a cloud. It will help your attention cross itself and take you into the no mind state, the state where you transcend thought. So you see, all these techniques are only meant to take you into the state of pure awareness, pure consciousness, Brahman, which the Upanishads are talking about. Humankind has invented so many techniques. In fact, every rishi, every person who originally wants to experience the truth for himself will find his own technique. Vivekananda used to say this, everybody has a religion in his own soul. That soul is oriented in a particular way towards reality, and so he will find his own technique. If he doesn't match with the available techniques, he will invent his own technique. One who really wants to know the truth of existence itself. So in the Mandukya Upanishad also you will find such magnificent techniques and examples, allegories, analogies. So it's a really breathtaking study, I would say. The Upanishad has such power. If you want to know how to study an Upanishad, since it is not talking of objective knowledge, it is talking of the eternal subject which you are, then you must learn to study it along with application on an everyday basis, which means the ideas which we study, see how you can bring them into a technique in your own life. Some form of technique is important. Usually people are practicing some form of upasana or meditation. Number of meditations are suggested in the Vedas, in the Upanishads, and these are also called upasanas. There are vidyas, there are different forms of focus, attention. Excuse me. riveting attention in some particular way. All these techniques are available. And I know as devotees, many of you are practicing these. But for this Upanishadic knowledge to become real in our lives, it is so very important to stick to a technique. On an everyday basis. If you can do this, then this knowledge will hit you. This knowledge will become real, because ultimately thought leads to the state beyond thought. And if we are not holding on to a technique, just the discussion will create very good clouds in your mind, but it will not take you to the sky. That is why I have always said, couple the study with sadhana. And that is the way to get the most out of the Upanishad. So let us begin the Upanishad. I hope you have the book in your hands. Take the first peace chant, Om Tat Sat, the peace invocation. This is a special invocation, especially you find it in the Mandukya Upanishad. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyed Makshabhirya Jatra Sthirai Rangai Stuštuvagam Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vriddha Shravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti na Staksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. So this is a peace chant which is very significant. Look at the words there. We will go word by word. Now the prayer is to the gods. Devaha comes from Div Dhatu, which means divine ones, the gods. The address is to them. Karnebi Bhadram. Karna is ears. The ears of the teacher and the student. Bhadram means make it auspicious, which means the words of the scripture that are falling on our ears, let them be auspicious to us. Shrunuyama, may we hear that which is auspicious. Constantly may we hear these words of the Upanishads. Yajatraha, which means which are efficient to sacrifice. They are of the nature of a sacrifice. See, when you constantly keep hearing good, you are actually investing vital energy, isn't it? It is a form of a good sacrifice. So just hearing is a form of sacrifice. You will find this idea even in the Bhagavad Gita. If you dedicate yourself to that which is good, noble and elevating in life, that itself is a form of yajna. Then Akshibhi Bhadram Pashyema. Akshabhi is the eyes. With the eyes, again, let me see that which is auspicious. Let me behold that which is auspicious and good. Sthirai Angai Sushtuvagam Sastanubhihi. Sthirai is firm or stable, perfect. Angai, my limbs and organs. May my limbs and organs be firm in the practice of this Upanishad, in the study of this Upanishad. Tushtuvasa means, Tushtuvamsam is in the singing of the praise of the Supreme. As this Upanishad goes, in singing the praises of the Supreme Reality, which we are going to discuss about, Devahitam, may I sing, may I be able to praise and understand this Upanishad fully. Ayuhu is span of life. Vyashema is may we obtain fully, may we live a full span of life. Vriddha Shravaha, he who is glorified in the scriptures by ancient preceptors. Oh, that is the description of the gods now. So until the word Deva Hitam Yadayuhu, please see, it is they are praying for we who sing your praise, may we live our allotted span of life in perfect health, strength, firmness, poise. And then the peace mantra goes to the worship of the gods. Swastina Indro Vriddha Shravaha. O Indra, who is Vriddha Shravaha is, the actual meaning is one who has heard a lot of the scriptures, one who has become old hearing the scriptures. So the gods are well versed in this knowledge, isn't it? That is what is being said. So may Indra, who is extolled in the scriptures, who is Vriddha Shravaha, may he be auspicious to us, may he protect us, may Pushan is one who nourishes the world. These were all the Vedic gods. Even the sun god was called Pushan. So may he, the all-knowing one, Vishwavedaha, may he confer upon us prosperity, swasti, may he be auspicious to us. Then Tarkasya, which means one who saves from all harm, again one of the Vedic gods. So may he be auspicious to us, may he bless us with prosperity. Arishtanemihi, may he who protects from harm be auspicious to us. Tarksha is actually the celestial bird. At that time they would worship that also, and may that be auspicious to us. This is the prayer. And Brihaspati. Brihaspati is again the guru of the gods. May he be auspicious to us. So with all their blessings, may prosperity come unto us. This is the prayer. Let me once again read what the prayer says. Om, O worshipful ones, O gods, may our ears hear what is auspicious. May we, efficient in worship, see with our eyes what is auspicious. May we who sing your praise live our allotted span of life in perfect health and strength. May Indra, the Lord who is extolled in the scriptures, Pushan, the all-knowing one, Tarkasya, who saves from all harm, and Brihaspati, who protects our spiritual luster, vouchsafe us prosperity in our study of the scriptures and the practice of the truths contained therein. Om, peace, peace, peace. So this is the special peace chant of the Mandukya Upanishad. May everything be auspicious to us, may all the gods be auspicious to us, so as to make our study fruitful. See, in the Upanishads always the salutations, the homage was first paid to the gods and the guru, and then only the study was begun, isn't it? So that you create a particular mindset within yourself where you become receptive to the ideas we are going to study. Without this deep sense of Shraddha, respect, we will not, you see, knowledge itself will not affect us. Knowledge transforms when you are a patra, when you are fit for that transformation. So this Shraddha is to be maintained throughout our study. Because here we are going to discuss Paravidya, Brahma Vidya. This is not ordinary knowledge. See, it is not available on the internet. Check and see. You will have knowledge of all sorts of things in this world. But there is no great discussion on Brahma Vidya or Paravidya, except in some pockets. So, why? It is not easily available. In fact, 200 years back, why 200 years back? 100 years back, you would not get a book like this for just a few rupees. You know, the Upanishads were not sold out like this at all. But Vivekananda very much wanted that every idea should reach the masses, should reach every person, and let him do with it what he wants. Let him decide how much he can use it. So that is why now the Upanishads have become so popular. Ideas will come to us if we are open to them. But ideas will transform us if we are receptive. Every bit, every cell in us is receptive to its transforming power. Otherwise, they will remain like clouds in our mind. But understanding and knowledge clears all the clutter in the mind. So that's why you see there is nothing more purifying than knowledge. Nahi jnanena sadrusham pavitram iha vidyate. It is the most purifying thing. But from knowledge you graduate into wisdom. From vritti jnana you graduate into swarupa jnana, and that is Brahma Vidya. So we will use the text as a means to take us into the experience of Brahman. This is when the study of the Upanishad becomes fruitful. Please go to the first section, first mundak. Om Brahma Devanam Prathama Sambhabhuva Vishwasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta Sa Brahma Vidyam Sarva Vidya Pratishtham Atharvaya Jeshtaputraya Praha. So, Vishwasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta Brahma. Here Brahma is to be distinguished from Brahman. Brahma is the creator of this world. The Supreme Godhead has three aspects. Sagun Brahman has three aspects: the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer of the world, whom we call Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara. So Brahma, the creator of this world, he is also called Vishwasya Karta, the one who made this world, the creator of this world, and Bhuvanasya Gopta, he protects his creation. So this Brahma, Devanam Prathama Sambhabhuva, he was the first created God. Because obviously if there should be a creation, there should be a creator. So he is the origin of the creation. He is the first God. Then Sarva Vidya Pratishtham Brahma Vidyam Jeshta Putraya Atharvaya Praha. So he gave this knowledge of Brahman, Brahma Vidya, to his son, Jeshta Putra, his eldest son, Atharvan. He gave this knowledge. What? Which knowledge? Brahma Vidyam Sarva Vidya Pratishtham. That Vidya, that knowledge which is the basis and support of every other form of knowledge, Brahma gave to his eldest son, Atharvan. That is the meaning of this mantra. Brahma, the creator and protector of the universe, arose first before all the gods, and to his eldest son, Atharvan, he imparted the science of the spirit, the basis of all sciences. So, you see, in the very first opening mantra, Brahma Vidya is being declared as the basis of all the sciences. Do you feel the truth of this? You will not be studying an Upanishad like this unless you feel the truth of this statement, that this is subjective knowledge is so very important, because it is the subject who knows the object, isn't it? If I know everything about this world, and today we have such enormous knowledge about what is happening just now on Jupiter, what is happening in the entire solar system, what is happening on which galaxy, but we don't know what is happening in our own minds. We don't know who we are. Look at the great irony. It has subjective knowledge we have ignored for centuries. Although this research took place at the very dawn of civilization, we have conveniently ignored this supreme science of Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the reality of our own being, simply because the nature of the senses and mind is outward bound. They are turned outward, isn't it? So we don't see inward at all. Rarely, sometimes, maybe Sunday class. But rest of the time we are preoccupied with the objects of the senses. Today we have numerous ways of distraction, addiction. The internet is there always to keep your mind and senses busy. So that is why this outward bound senses and mind don't allow us to see this, that, array, what is my own real nature? What happens to me after death? What is life? And what is my being about? Who am I? What is it in me that does not change? What does human existence mean? So for us to become sensitive to this, that is why, you see, they are introducing this to us. This Vidya, knowledge of the supreme subject which you are, it is the basis, the support of every other Vidya, because it is only through consciousness and the conscious experience that you perceive the outside world. It is perceived only through consciousness. In awareness, you know. So if you don't have any inkling of awareness, or if that awareness is totally cluttered, clouded, then you are all objective all your life. Even today, great scientists, physicists, neurosurgeons, all of them are coming to this understanding, you see, by themselves, not because they have studied some philosophy, by themselves, that consciousness somewhere is really the foundation of all experience. If experience is only in the first person, consciousness obviously is involved, isn't it? It must be fundamental to everything. In fact, one scientist recently declared that the existence of matter is debatable, but the existence of consciousness is something we feel all the time. If you just steady your mind, you will see fundamentally you are aware. Even thoughts come later on. But there can be no doubt about this, that awareness is not another thought. It is ever-present reality of our being, in which thoughts move. Thoughts move in and out of our awareness. That's when we become conscious or subconscious or unconscious. But consciousness is never absent. It is the ever-present, ever-existent reality. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita you find such descriptions: indestructible, all-pervasive, ever-present, everlasting truth. You find all these descriptions for this simple reason, that it is ever there, fundamental existence. So that is why Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of this pure existence, is what is called Sarva Vidya Pratishtham. It is the basis of every other knowledge. Because you know anything else only through your thought process, which comes much later. The reflection of consciousness in your mind triggers your thought process. It is through reflected awareness that you have conscious experiences and you know the world of objects. So that is why this is the most fundamental of sciences, which we have so conveniently ignored. Look at the sheer colossal stature of our ignorance. The most fundamental of sciences has been ignored, and the tertiary sciences have been made fundamental. So this sensitivity to this knowledge, that is why is the first thing. In fact, in the Vedic age, this was imparted at a very young age. And based on this, other sciences developed. So, you see, that is why this very first section tells us how this Brahma Vidya was transmitted. It's very interesting. Just go to the next mantra, the second mantra. Atharvane yam pravadeta brahma, atharva tam puro vachangire brahma vidyam sa bharadvajaya satyavahaya praha bharadvajo angirase paravaram. Atharvane, to Atharvan, Brahma pravadet. Brahma gave this knowledge to Atharvan. Okay, that's the first thing. Then tam brahma vidyam atharva pura angire uvacha. So Atharva gave this knowledge to Angiras, and Angiras, yes, Atharvan gave this knowledge to Angiras. Angiras in his turn gave it to Bharadvaj and Satyavaha, and he in turn to his descendants. Thus the science descended from the greatest sages to the lesser ones. So here when they are saying Bharadwajaya, it means of the lineage of Bharadwaj. Satyavahaya, of the lineage of Satyavaha. And again Bharadwaj, he transmitted it further on to the younger ones in succession. So finally it came to another rishi called Angiras. So let me just give you the gist of the second mantra. What Brahma imparted to Atharvan, that science of the spirit, of the soul, Atharvan imparted to Angiras in olden days. And Angiras passed it on to Bharadwaj, Satyavaha, and he in turn to Angiras. Thus the science descended from the greatest sages to lesser ones. See, you must remember we had this Vyas Parampara in our spiritual heritage, which means the descendants of a rishi, say Vyas or Angiras, were also called by the same name. So when it starts from Angiras and comes back to Angiras, you should understand it is like the Vyas Parampara. To the descendants of his own lineage, who may have the same name, the science was imparted. That is what it means. So this is how this knowledge was transmitted. You find this idea even in the Bhagavad Gita, that this is Shruti. This was transmitted by word of mouth. It was not recorded in books at that time. There were no printed books. There was no such information, this thing available to us, gadgets available to us. No communication systems available. So by word of mouth, Shruti itself means that which is heard. Thus it was transmitted, this Brahma Vidya was transmitted. And you know, actually speaking, that is the best way to transmit this knowledge, because it can only be transmitted, it cannot be taught. It is not about ideation and mentation. The inspiration and the Brahma Varchas of the teacher goes to the student. You can inspire the knowledge into another, but you actually cannot impart it as you impart an objective knowledge. So this is how the line was maintained. That is why in India, the relationship between guru and disciple, the teacher and the student, is something held to be so sacred. And the guru is next only to God, because the level of this knowledge is like that. The nature of this knowledge is, it requires a powerful transmission center. Only a person who has realized this knowledge gets the capacity to inspire it in others. He must have that Brahma Varchas, then only it is possible. That is why the only way of transmission was by word of mouth, not through a text, not through the internet. You don't learn this knowledge that way. Not through mantras, which you will find on the internet. So it is important to have a living torch in front of you, a blazing light, and then it is possible. Let us just go into the third mantra and then we will take up the questions. Shaunakoha vai mahashalongirasam vidhivad upasanna papracha kasminnu bhagavo vignate sarvamidam vignatam bhavati iti. So Mahashala is a great householder, Shaunaka, the son of Shunaka. He was called Shaunaka. He once approached Angiras, the rishi Angiras. See, Vidhivat Upasanna, which means in a proper manner as laid down by the scriptures. Upasanna means he approached Angirasam, the rishi Angiras, and Papracha, he asked, Kasminnu bhagavo vignate sarvamidam vignatam bhavati iti. He asked, Sir, what is it? Knowing which I know everything in the world. Everything in this world becomes known. What is it by knowing which I can know everything about this world? Please give me that knowledge. Now, is there such a thing? He's asking for the fundamental reality of this world of manifestation. Is there such a unitary existence, knowing which you can know everything else? That is the question. Who asked this? Shaunaka. To whom? To Angiras. Angiras was a rishi who had this Brahma Vidya. And Shaunaka was a great householder See, many of our rishis, in fact most of our rishis were great householders. One who has completed the duties of his life and now is yearning for this higher knowledge. So he asks this question, give me that knowing which I will know everything about this manifested universe. What is that substratum, that existence which is most fundamental? Just like how, if we give these common examples, in fact you can apply it to anything else. The Vedantic examples are, take this table, it is nothing but wood. So the fundamental thing about this table is, it is wood with a particular name and form. In fact, there is nothing here apart from wood. And table was a name you gave to it. It's a creation of your head. And the form also was given by you because you required it to function as a table. Name, form and function were given by you, but the reality here is only wood. The same thing Buddhism will say. Vedanta and Buddhism are very similar, but they look at the same thing in different angles. Buddhism will say, well, there is nothing called a table here, it is just a plank and legs. That is like kshanika. There is no one single unit here. It is a combination of so many units. And table is an assumption in your head. Vedanta will put the same thing as this. There is no table apart from wood. Wood with a name and form is table. So there is one fundamental existence which appears as all this. This is what they are telling us. There is only one fundamental existence upon which we superimpose name, form and function and give it a separate identity altogether. Just like how I converted this wood into a table. Because of its functions, I see it only as a table, not as wood. So also this world of manifestation, it's all name, form, functionality superimposed on consciousness. It is perceptible only because of consciousness. So this is what he is asking. Tell me the fundamental reality of this universe. Isn't it interesting, the Upanishad? We will go into it further on in the next class. Let us take up questions now. There are a lot of questions before me. We regularly worship, but what is the core philosophy behind worship? The core philosophy behind worship is Devam Bhutva Devam Yajet, which means it is to divinize you that there is worship. You may think you are pleasing God through your worship, but God is He who is always pleased. God is He who is always graceful. Then why worship? So that I become godly. It's a method to divinize me. So if that is not happening as a result of our worship, then you are falling short of the purpose of worship. Isn't it? God's grace, God's blessings are always there. Sri Ramakrishna used to say this, the wind of grace is always blowing. You set forth your sail, he would say. Which means you open up to reality in your own life. This is the core philosophy of worship. Divinizing yourself, you will worship the divine the best. Many times you see, people are going to the temple to worship, but there's a huge list in their mind. I'll break a coconut, I will do arti so that my son will pass in his exam, so that my daughter will get married, so that my salary will become double, so that I will have 2 more cars. So if this is how you are going to worship, well, something is better than nothing. That's all we can say. Actually speaking, worship is meant to divinize you, to change you. And that is the only way you will understand the real nature of God, isn't it? If you are using God only to fulfill some small desires, then still we haven't yet come into the very significance, the meaning, the power of these worship forms. So understand the core philosophy behind worship is to so divinize you so that you are able to perceive the divine in his real nature. That would be the real worship of God. The second question is, what are the objectives of Puranas and are they real? Whether the rishis made the stories of Puranas to elucidate and preach the inner message of Vedanta so that every people can understand? Yes, that's right. The objective of the Puranas was to bring the message of the Vedas to the reach of common people. Maybe they haven't had that much of education, they are not so rational and intellectual. Then in a story format, to bring the same truths to them. That was the purpose of the Puranas. So you see, you have all sorts of stories, fights between the Devas and Asuras, so many ways of illustrating the basic message of the Upanishads. It comes to you in so many ways in the Puranas. So it is very appealing to the common masses, the Puranas. If you ask me, are they real? See, the rishis who wrote these Puranas knew what they were doing. Their purpose was to bring that elevating, impersonal message of the Vedanta to the reach of the common man. And that was the purpose of the Puranas. Let us not go into whether the stories are real or not. What if they were not real? See, when you tell a child a fairy tale, not that the fairy tale was real, but it has its own impact on the child, isn't it? When you give the stories of the Puranas, whether the stories have been real or not, the message which they deliver, that is real. So you see, when you give suppose you teach your child the story of Samudra Manthan, actually it signifies the meditation, the art of churning your own mind and all the things that can come out of that, and then how to stabilize the mind. That is the actual meaning of the story, and how self-knowledge drinks up the poison of halahal, and finally how you get amrit, immortality, self-knowledge as a result of that. So the point of the story is self-knowledge, to take you truly into immortality. But you see, the story which the child will hear, he will remember only as a story. And when he grows up, he is more mature, able to understand, he will understand the tattva there, the actual meaning. So stories carry great messages, and that is why the Puranas were written. And see, all of this literature is meant to help you, and don't judge it with your intellect just because you have overcome the need for that kind of help now. Maybe you have grown up, you understand that this could not have happened, but you see, when you were a child, it was required, isn't it? Alice in Wonderland, it just fires up the imagination of a child and teaches it so many things. So stories have their own place, the Puranas have their own place in reforming and changing the human psyche. So let us respect everything. It was made for a particular purpose. If meditation is all about developing concentration, why is it not enough to concentrate on my studies? Why to have separate meditation hour? Yeah, that's a good question. See, meditation on anything is not called dhyan. Concentration is not on anything is not called meditation. You must understand this. You may be concentrating deeply on a mathematical problem, on something else, on a game of chess, on the internet, browsing through things with deep focus. That is not called meditation. Why? Meditation is focusing on a holy object, complete focus at an elevated level of consciousness. What this means and how to do it, for this I will recommend the video all about meditation. Please watch that. It is on this channel, Eternal Truth, and also on Vivek Vani, all about meditation. If you watch that video, you will see clearly that meditation is not simple concentration, it is something more than that. And that training is required for you to hold focus and keep your attention riveted on whatever you do during other times. Meditation is training of the mind so that you remain fairly focused at all times of the day. So it is not enough that you just concentrate on your studies and why should I have a separate meditation hour? Meditation not just helps you build concentration, it also purifies, cleanses the mind. That is why specific object of meditation is there, specific process is there, and meditation is transforming, self-transforming in effect. This may not necessarily happen with your studies. So please watch that video and you will get a good hold on what meditation means. Any kind of concentration is not called meditation. All of us have the capacity to concentrate, but not all of us have the capacity to meditate. Concentration, if it is object based, which means the object directs your level of attention, then it can never be called meditation. So that is why I want you to watch the video all about meditation. The fourth question is, what does pure buddhi, pure mind and pure atman actually mean? They are the same. What does this actually mean? Is not mind and buddhi part of maya according to classical Advait Vedanta? Yes. See, this is the difference between actual realization and the philosophy. Mind, buddhi, they are all prakriti, part of maya according to Advait Vedanta. But you have no other instruments apart from this to go into the ultimate. Isn't it? Do you have anything apart from your mind to get this higher knowledge? No. So that is why then the formula becomes, with what you have, all sadhana is within maya. Please remember, it is meant to transcend that maya. And that is why the formula becomes pure mind, generate a pure mind, it will become pure buddhi, that itself is pure atman. You will see clearly at that state when you generate a pure mind that your higher intelligence and higher awareness are working spontaneously at the same time. They are not three different things. That is why this formula, pure mind is equal to pure buddhi is equal to pure atman. The reflection of pure awareness, the buddhi is able to catch in that state. And it gives you the flash of insight, which is paravidya. So pure mind is equal to pure buddhi is equal to pure atman. So don't get into this confusion. Well, these are all unreal. So then what other means do you have to go into this knowledge? Tell me. Everyone proceeds from prakriti to purusha. You should remember. In fact, most people are not Vedantins. They are Sankhyavadis. They believe in the reality of prakriti. Don't you believe the body and the mind to be true? As long as you believe they are real, so long you belong, Sankhya and yoga will work for you. It is only when you have a deep intuition of reality and you feel consciousness alone to be real, awareness is real, the rest are unreal, unconnected to me, then Vedanta begins. If you observe keenly, Vedanta is the fact of life. But to come to that level of observation and experience in the first person, it requires a lot of practice. That is why we always recommend yogic practice, isn't it? So these philosophies are all meant to take you step by step to the ultimate goal. And that's why they are complementary, not contradictory. They are not meant to fight or not to be at loggerheads with each other. That is not their purpose. They were all insights developed by rishis who understood that it's like this, reality is like this. It appears in so many forms until you reach the ultimate. So you must, the actual way to proceed is, as Yatishwaranji Maharaj used to say this, he was a great monk of the Ramakrishna order, a realized monk, he would say, begin from where you are. If you begin from where you are not, you will only fall into all sorts of confused loops of thought and will. You must begin from where you are. What is real to you just now? Work with that. Move from there. The fifth question is, can Gayatri Mantra also be done by females? See, male and female are only ideas in your head. We have been discussing consciousness and awareness. You are fundamentally conscious agent, isn't it? You are a conscious being. At least come to that. And only stressing on these factors, on whether this can be done by women or this cannot be done by women. See, even the idea should not come into our minds, because it is to do with the fundamental self. It is not to do with body consciousness at all. Sex applies only to the body, isn't it? And that is why this knowledge, कोई भी वंचित नहीं हो सकता इस ज्ञान से. Nobody can be deprived of this knowledge, because the very fact that you say I and that you are a conscious being shows you have the right to know about consciousness. And nobody can take that right away from you, unless you are so silly you give it up yourself, thinking, no, I am the body, I am a female. Most of the time you are not even body conscious. Please see this. I tell this to all the girl students who ask such questions. Unless you are made conscious of your body, we are not even body conscious. You don't look at the mirror for some time, and I'm telling you, you will forget your body. But your awareness is always there, perpetually. Why do you deny who you are and assume what you are not? So, can Gayatri Mantra also be done by females? I don't even want to answer this question. Please do it, for heaven's sake. Do it and get out of this mold that you are the body. And it should be done by everyone, because Gayatri is a prayer to awaken the Dhi, that intuitive faculty in us which will take us out of all this silliness and make us stand on our own feet as conscious human beings on this planet, not as small, puny, little identified men and women unable to get out of this mold of body consciousness, not like that. So please do the Gayatri Mantra and don't have any hesitations about that. What is Vritti Jnana? That is the next question. That knowledge which is born out of thought or modification of mind, Vritti, that is called Vritti Jnana. So all your ordinary knowledge of objects is only Vritti Jnana. Please see this. It is born only out of Vrittis, but only Brahma Vidya is not Vritti Jnana. No Vritti can lead to it, because it is of the nature of pure awareness. It is only clarity of mind that can lead to it. No Vritti can lead to it. That is why it is aparokshanubhuti. It is unmediated knowledge. It is not mediated by the modifications of your mind. So, Vritti Jnana is objective knowledge, knowledge of objects, and it includes all the different branches of knowledge. The objective sciences, physics, chemistry, mathematics, all is through the modifications of your mind, isn't it? Only Brahma Vidya, Paravidya, the knowledge of Brahman is not Vritti Jnana. It is, that is why it's called Swarupa Jnana. It is knowledge of the subject itself, the real nature of pure being. So, you can use Vritti Jnana to a certain extent to clear the mind, to get the knowledge of Brahman, but this knowledge you cannot get through Vrittis. However sophisticated and knowledgeable your Vrittis may be, however philosophical, intellectual you may be, Vrittis will not lead to this knowledge. What leads to this knowledge then? It is the purity and clarity of your mind. See this formula, pure mind is equal to pure buddhi is equal to pure Atman. That is the only way to this knowledge. That is why Sri Ramakrishna, he has summed up the entire path for us so beautifully. The mind bereft of Kamini Kanchan, he used to say, lust and greed, that will lead to this highest knowledge. So you see on an everyday basis how you can bring your mind into these pure states, and you will know clearly that Brahma Vidya, Sarva Vidya Pratishtham. Brahma Vidya is the ultimate Vidya, the ultimate knowledge, and one needs to transcend normal vrittis to get there. So I think we will stop here today and continue next week. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.